I have a very serious question from my boys here. Do you guys believe?
In life after love?
Do you believe in a higher power?
I do.
You do?
Believe in life after love.
Absolutely.
Good. So we're all on the same page here. Well, you've never heard this song by Brooks and Dunn, Believe, correct?
Correct. I've never heard this song before.
He's never even heard Brooks and Dunn.
Oh, okay. Well, I hadn't either until I reacted on this channel. So
That's not true.
that is
You knew
true.
at least one song from them.
I heard Neon Moon like in passing, but I never knew it, and I would have never been able to guess.
And
it
what
was
else?
Boot Scoot and Buggy. That's
All right.
a pretty popular one. But yeah, no, this is a good song, man. I'm excited that you get to listen to this one with us today.
Yeah. First time reaction. You want to introduce yourself there? Over there, buddy?
Yep. I'm Paper Chase.
And it's one and only Diamond Don Juan. We got a special guest.
Silver Styles.
That's right. And if you can't tell by the striking resemblance, this is his son. I like how you don't introduce that ever.
Well, because maybe he wants to be more than my son. Maybe it's just Silver. He can stand on his own.
It's a
as
pretty
his own
small
man.
shadow
to crawl out from behind him.
I'm just joking. But hey, guys, before we start this one, make sure you drop a like and hit that subscribe button. And together, let's believe. Let's get into it.
Old man Wrigley lived in that White House down the street where I grew up. Mama used to send me over with things. We struck a friendship up, spent a few long summers out on his old porch swing. Said he was in the war, went in the Navy, lost his wife, lost his baby. Broke down and asked him one time, how you keep from going crazy? He said, I'll see my wife and son in just a little while. I asked him what he meant. He looked at me and smiled, said, I raised my hands, bow my head. I'm finding more and more truth in the words written in red. They tell me that there's more to life than just what I can see. Oh, I believe. A few years later, I was
How touching, man.
It is a very touching song.
Mm-hmm.
Initial thoughts?
It's sad. Lost his kid and his wife.
Is it sad though?
There's a silver lining in it, though, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like it's bittersweet because it really is a song about just like, having faith that you're going to see them again.
Absolutely.
And when he says the words written in red, you know what he's talking about?
No.
Like in the Bible, the words written in red are the quotes that are directly from Jesus.
Yeah.
So that's what the reference is.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful song about faith, and I think a lot of people live their lives so cynically and miserable and hating everything because they have no faith. They don't believe in something bigger than them. I think it's very important,
Yeah, we'll talk about it at the end, but I'm curious when you started like getting into the Bible and all of that, because we did not go to church. Like that's not something that, I have done that, your mom was really into at all. So it is kind of interesting that you started going in that direction just kind of on your own, but we can save that for the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
off at college. A few years later, I was off at college, talking to Mom on the phone one night, getting all caught up on the gossip, the ins and outs of the small town life. She said, oh, by the way, son, when Wrigley's died. Later on that night, I laid there thinking back. Thought about a couple long lost summers. I didn't know whether to cry or laugh. If there was ever anybody deserved a ticket to the other side, it'd be that sweet old man who looked me in the eye, said I raised my hands, bow my head, finding more and more truth in the words written in red. They tell me that there's more to life than just what I can see. I can't quote the book, the chapter or the verse. You can't tell me it all ends in a slow ride in a hearse. You know I'm more and more convinced the longer that I live. Yeah, this can't be, no, this can't be, no, this can't be all there is. Lord, I raise my hands, bow my head. Oh, I'm finding more and more truth in the words written in red. They tell me that there's more to this than just what I can see. I believe. I believe. I believe.
All right, I take it back. I was trying to have a positive note and say that this wasn't a sad song, but it's making me, sad. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I think
it is a positive song,
yeah,
but it definitely is stirring up emotions and making me, kind of tear up a little bit.
Yeah, it's it's a very realistic story of everybody passes away, and I grew up really religious and listened to gospel music forcefully my whole younger age of life, but there's plenty of people that I know that have passed away who held on to that faith from the very last second of life, and it's like, thank God they did. You know what I mean? Like, they're in a better place. I mean, hopefully, I believe, I have faith, but they held on to that faith their whole life.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up with, my mom's Christian. She went to the church. I went to the church with her. My dad is like an atheist, like completely against all organized religion, anti-government. So I had two different sides. And as a young man, I was, I loved church, and I had some experiences in church where just people that I encountered, I just had general questions. It's like, I'm going to school and I'm like, okay, well, where did dinosaurs come from? Where does this fit in? And then I had literally a mind blowing experience. I was in class and they were talking about the universe being infinite. And I remember going home, and it was like I was tripping. I mean, that's the only way I can describe it, because I went home and I laid down in bed and I started contemplating the universe being infinite. And I closed my eyes, imagined myself flying through the galaxy. And I was like, well, if the universe is infinite, then where did God come from? What was before God? Who made God? All this stuff started coming into my mind. So I go to church and I'm asking questions, and I just felt like they just totally shut me down and just didn't want to have anything to do with what I was asking, what I thought was just legitimate questions. And it was very hurtful at that time, because I felt like I was just annoying them. And I asked like different people, like I asked one of the church ladies in Sunday school, and she was just like, fuck,
How was she supposed to know though?
Again, it's just like I was thinking as an adult, like in the church, that they would have some explanations. So then I started asking other people, and it was that similar thing. And that was like a distinct turning point in my life where I was like, oh, okay, these people don't know what they're talking about. That was what I took away from it. And then with, my dad having that type of background, it's just like I started going in that direction of just not having faith, just being like, oh, there is nothing. There's no good explanation. But then as I've grown older, I look at the way society has played out and what religion has done, because for a long time I had the belief that religion was just negative, and I thought that we would be a better society without it. Is really what I believed. But, it's kind of one of those things that I love history. I'm always just saying like ridiculous things and, talking about historical things. And, I look at the society that's created and all these ethics and morals that we have that people just think are natural. They really aren't. I mean, if you look at societies all over the world, it's like we've done horrific things, and a large part of the ethics that we have come from Christianity. So that's like the place that I've come to, is like, going in this direction of feeling like, hey, the world would be better without these like, fairy tales and these, old superstitious religions. But now I've come to a place of recognizing that it really has created a code of ethics, of morals that wouldn't be in existence without it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all the things you can argue against religion, everything. I mean, there's always that backbone of ideology in the Bible that basically says like forever through your life, you will be presented with facts that basically try to deter you from your faith. But it's important that you keep your faith, and that's what the faith is all about. So, I mean, that's an argument that a lot of people can use, that if you're going back to what the Bible said. See, I consider myself a Christian. I consider myself, to believe in a higher power, but that does not mean I believe everything in the Bible. And I think to believe every story that you read in the Bible is foolish because of the fact of how the Bible came to be. Like, it went through trials to approve certain books in it. Like, there's so much that got left out of the Bible. Man picked and chose what went into the Bible. So I'll just leave it at that. But there is, a way to kind of back up all these crazy things with evolution and science to say that, I mean, some people say that it's like the devil trying to like trick and put a facade to just deter you from believing in God and, a higher power. So I don't know.
Interesting. Tying back to what you asked me before, how I came to be a Christian. A long time ago, my friend and I were like playing video games in the basement, and I remember just like one night he asked me like Silver, are you like an atheist, or are you like a Christian or something? And I just said I'm an atheist. And then he like begged me to just say that Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. And at the time, I was just like, bro, what are you even asking me? But like now, I'm glad that like even if I said it in like the moment that like I didn't really like mean it, now I definitely do, because I mean, like, just like, why not?
It sparked that interest in you, and he asked it, and it got you thinking a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. See, I mean, that's a good friend right there.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time when I might have felt a certain way about that, to be completely honest. Just the way that I was brought up, but I always wanted you to make your own choices in life, and I didn't want to sway you one way or the other. Like, be like, oh, you have to believe in this faith, because I feel like it's just something that you have to come to personally, and that sometimes like having somebody who's like too forceful in your life pushes you in the opposite direction, which is kind of what happened to me in both occasions. Like, it was like, felt like, I got pushed in one direction and pushed in another. And then a lot of it was just staying open-minded and having conversations. And there's like key people that came in my life. Like, there was a guy that I really like. His name was Todd, and he's Christian. And I had seen so much hypocrisy, like growing up in the Springs, because there's so many Christian organizations. And this is going to go off on a crazy tangent, but it's worth mentioning. There's this guy that, God, what was his name? Oh, he's a pastor that got caught like, and he was preaching like anti-gay stuff. And
Oh
they
yeah,
caught
and then he got
him-
caught and he was totally gay.
He was like smoking meth with like gay prostitutes. And,
Yeah.
like having like
That was was that in the Springs?
that was in the
That was in the
Springs.
Springs.
Like, he was
Okay,
huge.
That sounds like the scene from The Boys.
It's
Have you seen that?
yeah. The boy. Oh, the show.
yeah. So having those like things, you know, come up in my life, I'm like, well, first of all, aren't you supposed to be saying love thy neighbor? So when you're like so anti-gay, isn't that kind of going against, you know, what you preach? And then having somebody that's so high up in the church that's like sending that message out, but then is secretly like indulging in that behavior because he probably feels guilty. Like it's just so dark to me. And so when I saw those things, I just felt like, oh, you're so hypocritical. And it just really pushed me away. But then having conversations like with this guy, Todd, you know, he just wasn't forceful. He wasn't trying to like preach or convert or anything. And we would just have these conversations. And, you know, I remember asking about his belief and like his faith. And I was like, but how can you, you know, and I was asking him some of these, you know, big questions, like, how can you explain this? How can you explain that? He's like, I can't. It's like, that's the thing about faith is that, you know, I have my moments where I'm doubt. Everybody does. Like Jesus on the cross says, you know, Father, why hast thou forsaken me? Like in his moment of tribulation, he was questioning, you know, God and like, why have you forsaken me? So it's such a human thing. And, you know, what he said is like, that's just part of it. It's just, I just have that faith. And for me, I was like, I always felt like there was a cowardice into believing. This might sound weird, but I was like, oh yeah, you know, you just think that there's an afterlife and that, you know, you're going to be rewarded. So, you know, that's an easy way out. Like it's harder going through life not believing, like not believing there's anyone that's going to come and save you, you know, and just being like, it doesn't matter because I'm not going to be judged. Like, you know, in the afterlife, if I'm a piece of shit and just do shit, you know, whatever it takes to get ahead, like it doesn't matter. So it takes courage to be, you know, honest if that's your belief. But as I've grown, I realize that there is a real courage in having that faith and saying like, I don't know, I'm going to just trust God. I'm going to, you know, trust that there is a larger purpose that's beyond me and, you know, give myself
And that
to
I
that.
got the right religion, you know? Yeah, no, definitely. I agree with what you're saying. I think it's super brave to have faith through it all, you know? I mean, I grew up when I had a pastor and my friends, they do listen to a couple of our shows, so they might, if you're listening, they were two of my best friends growing up. They were actually there the day I was born. They were twins. I still hang out with them to this day. It's the best people in my life. Their dad was the pastor of our church. And before he was like had his kids and stuff, he was like a heroin addict, meth addict, all these things. Used to like steal, yada, yada, yada. And he ended up getting saved and becoming our pastor. And it's a little personal, but he, many years later, he got accused of like doing some financial stuff at the church and like taking money from the church. And he ended up getting fired. And then a couple of years later, he committed suicide. And he had, you know, he left 4 boys behind, 2 of my best friends. He was like our pastor growing up, the most important person of our life.
Yeah.
And you would think the boys would be like, you know, fuck this. Like, you know, this was kind of shoved down my throat my whole life. I went to Christian school my whole life, church 3 days a week. Like they lived across the street from the church. That was their whole life. And instead, like one of the sons ended up becoming a pastor, like following his son's footsteps. The other 2 guys, they're still like devout Christians. Well, all 3 of them are devout Christians. And it's just awesome to see that faith, like to be presented with something so heartbreaking and difficult like that and still choose to have faith and still choose to follow that path. So it's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day. This is kind of a long reaction for us, but I think these are some of my favorite, the reactions that actually stir up, you know, conversation. I was thinking about like the hypocrisy in religion and all those things, like just a couple days ago, for whatever reason, you know, just going through my mind, because that was one of the big things that I was hung up on for a long time. It was just like, yeah, you preach this religion, but then you go do all these things that are like against, you know, your religion. Like, you know, why should I listen to you? But, you know, that's like one of the whole stories about Christ and him giving himself up, is that is what the story of the gospel is about, is that we aren't perfect, that by our nature, we're going to fail. We're going to be led into temptation and sin. It's the nature of being a human. And that's the whole purpose of why, you know, Jesus died on the cross, is because he had to absolve us of our sins because we're not going to be able to live up to that. And so
Yeah.
I was thinking about that from the context of like, what other religion has that built into it that says, we know that you're going to fail. We know you're going to sin. And therefore I'm going to send somebody to basically absorb those instead of punishing you to a degree. Like, you know, that was why, you know, he had to die. It was literally for us. So it's baked into the story of like, you know, the fact that we're humans, we're going to fail. And that was the whole purpose for him. So it really is a beautiful, like, you know, even if it's just a story, I'm just saying that because of my
like
background.
that story is the thing that separates a lot of religions.
Exactly.
Like Judaism from Christianity, from Catholic, from being a Catholic, from Mormons, from like that's like that one story separates a lot of beliefs.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. And, you know, I just want to say this last thing to tie it back into the song. Like this song gets better the more I listen to it. You know,
It is so good.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I liked it.
5 stars from Silver Styles. Thanks for watching, guys. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like. Comment down below your thoughts. You know, I know this is a long-winded reaction, but I hope you stuck around for it because I feel like we had some good conversation. And also, don't forget to subscribe.
That's right. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace.